So we got an update with the Archie's Festival Frenzy event last night that made for an interesting turn of events, but one that also makes me think of the rest of the events that we've had so far and others that were still upcoming, spurring a conversation at the level of which these events are performing or maybe worthwhile. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you think of these events we've seen so far in Black Ops 6 and what you'd like to see adjusted or changed, if at all. So let me know your thoughts, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Black Ops 6 and other FPS coverage. But for now, let's get into it. So first, let's start with that Archie's Festival Frenzy event update. This event, introduced on Thursday, was meant to be a sort of reintroduction of what the Trophy Hunt event was in Modern Warfare 2, offering up jolly Archies for players to collect in multiplayer, zombies, and Warzone across the various different methods. The easiest way that I found was plunder and just searching for them in chests, but anyways, it was meant to be this reintroduction along the same lines as that, while also giving us a bit of a different methodology for unlocking and completing events. The first event of the hit list event was a personal and community elimination based event. The second of the Merry Mayhem was based off of actual XP accrual, and the third event in the Gobblegum Mania event, though released at the same time, was based off of Gobblegum usage, and this one would have been based off of the collection of items. So each of these events have introduced unique methods to unlocking items so far. I'm absolutely expecting repeats in the future of either XP based or kill based rewards or whatever the case, but for the time being, this was introduced to give another unused way to unlock certain items. Now, along with a ton of smaller items, we had the options to get a few functional pieces of content in this event. The Reflexes perk in Warzone, which is essentially your flex perk from Warzone 3 last year, and that Modern Warfare 3 year of support. The 3-round burst mod for the compact, making it exactly what it sounds like. And then the AMR mod for sniper was the Barrett 50 cal that was the overall completion reward, a new functional sniper rifle in the game in Warzone and in Black Ops 6. This could be done without interacting with the Black Cell operator if you didn't have Black Cell, but also could be used to skip certain items if you didn't want to as well if you did have Black Cell, though it really wouldn't offer any sort of benefit since the cost of that was 50 Archies, and as was literally the other highest tiered items in the event as well. But once completed, you had access to that new weapon. So if you like this stuff, it was absolutely something that you'd want to interact with. Despite if you didn't, all the functional items would go into the armory afterwards. So there's honestly, for this kind of stuff, no real sort of stakes for the items that are, again, of functional use. But the catch with this one in particular is that tons of players ended up having variable amounts of jolly Archies the moment they logged in. I saw some players with 5k Archies, 10k. Immortal, who I talk to regularly, had 11k. I somehow had 51,000. I saw someone with 60,000, and then I saw players with 0. So it was seemingly an insanely random thing on who ended up getting these, and also the amount of which the Archies they had was insanely random. But it only requires the entire event, like 280 or something like that, to complete. So tons of people were logging in and completing the event within 2 to 3 minutes or however long it took to complete those unlock animations for all the items. Up until last night, it wasn't acknowledged or mentioned at all by Treyarch or any one of the official COD teams really until they said, looks like Archie's been extra nice lately. In the spirit of the holidays, we'll be granting the rewards from the Archie's Festival Frenzy to all players at the end of the event so everyone can play at their own pace. Naturally, the replies are all just people angry at some reason or another for COD. I mean, that is Call of Duty after all, but this is very clearly done as a last resort of, oh, we can't fix this or revert it without any backlash. So yeah, this event is kind of a wash. Let's just give it to everybody. This is absolutely because of that, because so many people had completed it automatically without any sort of reasoning other than a massive glitch that they had to do this for everybody else. I wouldn't read any further into it other than that because, yeah, you could try and twist it to be like, this game is dead, they're just giving stuff away or whatever, but like, let's be realistic here with this. If a large portion of the player base ended up getting something for free that other players did not, it's not exactly a fair sort of situation there, so let's just call a spade a spade. But basically, this now means if you don't want to do this event, you don't want to play over the next couple of days, you don't have to, and you're not going to miss out on literally anything. Even the stuff that is the cosmetic items out of all this kind of stuff, you're going to have as soon as the event ends on January 3rd, going into that next event or whatever may be upcoming. But this update and just the events overall have gotten me thinking recently about Black Ops 6 and how things are being handled with these events versus, like, say, Modern Warfare 3 events. When we look at other recent events in the last couple of years for Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, I think, was by and far the best handled, but the core makeup of these events come down to functional content in the events that we see in Black Ops 6 versus, say, in Modern Warfare 3, all cosmetics in those events. And here's the thing that I don't know if it's going to make sense to anybody else, but in a way, I'm almost less inclined to play Black Ops 6 events with more functional items included in that. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone else, and the only way that I can accurately, like, convey my thoughts on this is it just doesn't feel the same. To me, on one hand, I understand this is how you try and organically bring players to the game more when it's all about that coveted playtime you're trying to bring up. Like, every publisher is like, monthly playtime, baby, let's go. Like, that's what these publishers care about. And on one hand, again, listen, I get it. That's one thing that you do see value in trying to bring players back with, but it feels forced to me, and that's why I don't really like it so far. Like, by no means do I hate these events or anything like that. It's just not my preferred method or way that I'd like to see them be introduced. It comes down to this. I think optional is way more authentic. I think one of the things that I've noticed this year in my logic or how my brain works, and maybe it's this way for other people as well, but I've played Black Ops 6 a lot and have done so a lot recently, even amidst all the controversy and complaints where otherwise I probably wouldn't have in years prior. Why? Because I'm actively going for 100%er stuff in the game, which doesn't seem like a lot right now at face value of that statement, but let me explain. It's kind of weird that I had some people actually angry at me for this explanation earlier in the year because I didn't specify, but I said recent games besides Cold War didn't have 100%er. But yes, Modern Warfare 2019, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3 all had calling card challenges, all had challenges you could do in the game, but there wasn't that sort of like end goal, that little carrot you're chasing on the end of the string for doing all of those things. They had game challenges, but what I meant was 100% completion things, like a calling card or something to work towards, not just challenges and XP. But I've been actively going for this just because like it seemed fun to me at the beginning. It's been absolute pain and agony sometimes along the way since then, but at the beginning I was kind of like all on board for trying to set myself a goal and do it. But nothing about this is functional. It's just something to do and something that I personally would think is a cool symbol of, oh, I did that if somebody else sees it. Love it or hate it, Black Ops 6 objectively has a few things like that. I mean, you have multiplayer, zombies, and Warzone mastery camos. You don't have to do any of that, but it's there as an end goal to work towards. 100%er grinds for multiplayer, zombies, and Warzones. Dark Ops challenges and mastery for those Dark Opses in campaign, multiplayer, zombies, and Warzone. Mastery badges to complete for all your weaponry, streaks, field upgrades, lethals, and tacticals in multiplayer and zombies. Level 1000 grinds. Stuff that if you just want to get on and shoot some stuff, you can, and it doesn't impede any of that. But for people who like a challenge of completing things like I do, I'm coming back, especially if there's a reward at the end like a mastery camo, a Dark Ops 100%er calling card, a 100%er calling card for completing multiplayer, zombies, or Warzone, rewards at max level, and so on. That stuff is all optional, which to me makes those grinds feel way more authentic. And maybe I'm incorrect, maybe my mind doesn't work the way that others do, and that's fine. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case at all, but in the same fashion, that sort of thing just is where it matches the fundamentals and the core makeup of Modern Warfare 3 events. And yes, there was absolutely much more fear of missing out in Modern Warfare 3 events because all of that stuff ended up going away if you didn't complete it, but they don't feel as forced to me. I wanted to play each of those events because it was something that I could use across the board on any weapon in a camo that was usually available, and it was something that didn't require me to play one way or the other. Oftentimes, it was just XP, so I could play multiplayer, I could go for camos, I could go for multiplayer challenges, I could play Warzone, I could play Battle Royale, Resurgence, or Plunder, I could play zombies, doing, again, either camo challenges, story stuff, just killing zombies. It didn't matter. I could do all kinds of a ton of different things, and I'd still make progress towards it. And with Black Ops 6 this year and those other optional grinds we've talked about, it just added even more to it. That if you tried to replicate last year and then just add it on top of it, you'd have multiple more ways and avenues to get to that endpoint. And because it wasn't forced, it felt like my time and participation in these events, I think, were more respected, if that makes sense. Like with the pretext of knowing publishers really only care about that playtime, and then you're putting these functional pieces of content out in order to get me to do those events, to get me to play those things, it feels like a bit of a cheap way to do that. Whereas an optional camo that you didn't need, and it was okay if you didn't get, but that genuine feeling of it being an optional sort of extra reward just felt a bit more complimentary, I guess. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but to me, the ideal compromise that I'd love to see here out of Black Ops 6 is taking some of those sort of key pillars of what Modern Warfare 3 events were and then building on top of it. My ideal compromise would be removing these functional pieces of content out of the events and instead adding optional things like camos or blueprints, but then taking it a step further where those, if you don't earn those, you can get rid of that fear of missing out. They go into the armory system as well after they're done, not just that functional content. Like, absolutely let things go like XP tokens like that, or even just some smaller stuff that like most people may not care about, weapon charms or calling cards or blueprints, stuff that are like thematic in that sense. Yeah, you can have as limited time items, but put those end goal camos or blueprints and maybe some other cosmetics like that in the armory system, and I think people would have a great reception to that. And then when it comes to new weapons, I mean, we've already seen a handful in Season 1 rolled out within the event system itself, but when it comes to those weapons, instead of using events to dole them out and making them sort of be this cheap push for playtime, just put them in the armory immediately, allowing players to activate whatever weapon they want whenever they want it, so they don't have to wait for a community element of a challenge to be completed or something like that, whereas they've already completed their personal challenge. Something that just allows them to end up picking and choosing how they want to play and going at it at their own pace, truly. So while there's certainly a lot with Black Ops 6 and Warzone currently that needs some attention, some adjustments, or just any sort of TLC, this is absolutely not the priority of things. I get that entirely, but I'm hoping that come Season 3, 4, 5, or 6, hopefully sometime sooner rather than later, that we just see some adjustments made to the event system, that we're not doing this the whole year. And again, maybe I'm entirely off base. Maybe I'm entirely out of touch with what the regular player wants or something like that. But to me, at least, that's my logic and the way that I see these kind of things, is that it just feels a little forced. Like, I'm all for events, I'm all for introducing functional content, but I just feel like there's a better way to do it. And we've seen a sort of great blueprint and mold that everybody found to be very engaging and something they liked just this past year. So just like every single year with Warzone, where quality of life changes get reverted and then eventually end up making their way back to where they were in Season 5 and Season 6 of the year before, I'm kind of hoping events can do the same thing, where this first initial ideation of this was something Treyarch had in mind, but then they maybe see like, oh, no, we could probably do this better, and then we switch courses from there. Because like this stuff in Season 1 was planned before the game launched. This stuff probably was worked on 2-3 months back. So like seeing the reception of this kind of stuff was not in their view at all whenever they were making this kind of stuff and setting up the systems in place for it. So like maybe the time now, seeing the reception to this, we'll see changes again in Season 2 or Season 3, but we just don't know. But anyways, wanted to talk to you guys about this, give you a little heads up on the Archie's Festival Frenzy event, that it is going to be awarded to you, even if you don't play at all. So if you want to take some extra time to spend with your family, friends here over the holiday week, absolutely go about that. You're not going to miss anything, but just wanted to fill you guys in and give a little bit of an insight into some thoughts I've been having about the system as a whole. But anyways, that's what we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like what we talked about here. Do you agree with this? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. Of course, if you aren't new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 6 and other FPS coverage. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.